Welcome to the Junior League of Columbia Crescent Conversations. I'm your host and president, Rania Jamison, and I'm excited to join you for this second installment in Crescent Conversations. Tonight, we will be digging deep and talking about crossing the JLC Leadership Bridge. I've got a full house tonight, and it's going to be great. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for some great information from our ladies. But first up, I want to remind you what Crescent Conversations is. We understand that now more than ever, you as our members are busier than ever. And so we truly want to meet you where you are. This is an opportunity for us to bring league leaders, community leaders to the table for us to have conversations to keep you updated on what's going on or give you the information that you need. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to dig deep and have some conversations with our newly installed Ad hoc Committee. It is our nominating process Ad hoc Committee, and we have 5 of those members with us tonight. We're going to go ahead and jump in since we've got a full house. So, ladies, welcome. How y'all doing tonight?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
All right, not too chilly?
No.
So what I like to do is for us to get started and talk about who was really instrumental in helping to bring you across that leadership bridge. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind.
Hey, I'm Ashley. I'm sorry, I've got a cold, so I can't talk very loud. But my leadership process started with CRPD. I was a member for a couple years and then got asked to be vice chair, and that started the process. When I was vice chair, I sat on finance committee, and it just blew my mind how much stuff was happening in the league that I didn't know about. And it's been nonstop ever since.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Monique.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Monique Flowers. So I actually was a vice chair for general membership, and one of our past presidents, Misty Burton, spotted me in action while I was working in my little post. And so she is the reason that I had an opportunity to kind of navigate on the leadership side of JLC. So I would have to attribute that to her. Not volunteering, but voluntolding me what it is that I was going to be doing, or what she, of what she saw for me. So I would say sometimes, especially in the league, what others, especially leaders that you aspire to be and that you look up to, I would say sometimes take their advice to in areas where you may not be sure, because she was definitely right and instrumental in my path in leadership.
Thank you. Abby.
So my leadership journey, hey, I'm Abby Sullivan, y'all. I'm so sorry, I should have introduced myself. My leadership journey started when I was on the new member committee a very long time ago, and I have a love for membership and want to just see our members flourish and grow, and I think it was just the leaders above me that encouraged me to keep going. And here I am. It got me to the seat.
Thanks, Abby. And Dianca.
So my name is Dianca Schuler. What started my leadership journey, actually, new member. I served on the new member committee and was asked to serve as vice chair as the second year. So that sort of started my journey into the leadership path. And like Abby, I've always had a love for members. So here I am.
Erica.
And hi everyone, my name is Erica Lovegreen, and my journey to leadership was probably a little bit more unique. I have 2. I came from a different league, so I had great leaders there that really inspired me, and then coming to JLC, it was actually our past president, Bonnie, who I reached out to coming from a different league, and I was in leadership in my previous league. I was president-elect. It's a very long story, but Bonnie was so great to just bridge the gap, tell me about how amazing the JLC is, educate me about the process of taking my weird league background and resume and getting to apply it here. So a bit of a unique journey, but just so thankful to be here.
So, and I'll share mine as well. And so for me, I think mine kicked off really my first active year. I served on the Education Development Committee and kind of jumped in full-fledged. And, anything I was willing to do, they were willing to accept. And it was like, oh, okay, I could leave some thumbprints here. And I remember Kate and Angela just pretty much that end of the year saying, you need to be our vice chair next year. And so I was like, okay.
Right.
and that was it. Things were set in motion after that. And as they say, the rest is herstory. Mm-hmm. So the thing we all serve in common this year is that we all serve on the board, and you all have stepped up to serve on the special ad hoc committee. And so as board members, Dianca, you're at-large director, shared by Monique as at-large director, Ashley, you're serving as risk manager, and Erica, you are treasurer, and of course, Abby, you're leading nominating as the chair. When we started talking about how do we really look deeper into our nominating process, you all were willing to raise your hands and step up. And you're not alone. You've got a couple of other members that have stepped up as well. But let's talk a little bit about that. So Abby, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit more about the actual committee itself.
Sure. So last year and the past couple years, the nominating process has evolved, which, is a great thing. But there have been a lot of questions that have come about. And so we wanted to make sure that everything we're doing is transparent. We want everyone to understand how you get into leadership, and it's not some crazy secretive process. There are certain things that we need to do, but we want everyone to be prepared when they start on that journey and they come to us and I want to be part of leadership. So we, after, just a year or two of a lot of questions, we decided at the board level that it would be great to get a committee together. So our committee has active sustainers. We have people that have been on the nominating committee, people that have not sat on it, which gives, different perspectives. So we thought that having a specific leadership team with these different perspectives, and we all have different backgrounds in the league, which just lends to, you're going to look through something through a different lens. So we have a good group that has a rich history of placements within the league and a lot of deep knowledge and historical knowledge. And so we thought, it would be great if we could all tackle it together, and that we have done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abby. So, Monique, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So what is the process to league leadership?
Well, of course, if you don't know, Digital Cheetah is honestly the best resource for all things. But Abby and her team, honestly, the nominating page itself has kind of always been a great resource, but I think it is like triple time in terms of information and just different questions that are being asked, much like this one. But first and foremost, making sure that your leadership profile is filled out, and just letting the committee know, the areas that you're interested in serving, the areas where you think that you would be a strong suit, or just a place that you wouldn't mind fitting in. Filling out that leadership profile lets them know exactly where you stand on where your interests are. I would also say to dig a little bit deeper in the different areas in Digital Cheetah where you can kind of fill in information about where you work and where you volunteer and all of those different things, because those also will help streamline some of the process when it comes down to the nominating side, to help find the best fit for you based on your interest, or maybe somewhere where the nominating committee feels like you'll be a good fit to once they have the opportunity to speak with you.
So Ashley, tell us a little bit about how the nominating process has evolved most recently.
There's definitely been a lot of changes in recent years. Most importantly, every position for the board and EMT has an interview with the nominating committee. That is a lot of interviews for the nominating committee to handle. But through that process, they're getting a much better understanding of each individual person that has been nominated for a certain position within the slate. And it helps them figure out, okay, well, this person interviewed for this position, but we really think their assets and qualities would be better for this position, to come up with a more well-rounded slate. This all goes back to the leadership profile. If you self-nominate for a certain position, you will be interviewed by the nominating committee for a position on the board or EMT or whatever spot they're slating for. So that leadership profile is very important.
Thanks, Ashley. All right, so Dianca, my question for you is, what experiences are most preferred for members to be considered for the board or management team?
I really think that question, you really need to take a look at our four councils. So community, communications, finance, and membership. Within those councils, see what your interest is first. I think that's truly important to see, because that way you'll be able to find what your passion is. And that can lead to other leadership opportunities. And so if you find how I found my niche was, I knew I liked membership. So I was on the new member committee, and I expressed interest in leadership. So if you do not express interest in leadership or go back to that willingness to serve form, no one's going to know that you're interested in leadership. So it's truly important to use your voice, speak up, I want a leadership position, and fill out that willingness to serve form.
Dianca, so we've been talking a lot about self-nominating. What about using that leadership profile to help elevate somebody else?
So I think that's a good point, Rania. The self-nomination form, that's important because I see something in Erica may not see that in herself, and I can say Erica's going to be an awesome treasurer, where she may not realize, like, oh, Dianca's noticed me on Finance Council. So it's important to notice the qualities and skills the other league members have.
Thanks, Dianca.
You're welcome.
All right, Erica. So tell us, how soon after joining or transferring into the league does one have to wait to pursue a leadership role?
I think the amazing thing about being a new active is that you're building a resume within the league. You bring skills to the organization from your life and your professional career or things that you're doing and volunteering for elsewhere. And I think we need to remember, if you're a new member or a transfer in, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So you come in, if you've just become a new active member, absolutely look at the different leadership roles. We have something like over 100 leadership roles that you can come into and assert that you have value and you have skills that you can bring to that beautiful table. I think I would just caution you, if you're a new active, it's also about learning the organization too, right? If you come in and you're like, I'm ready to be president today, maybe manage your expectations a little bit. But I also think there's something really powerful about asserting your background and sharing that and being willing to share and fill out a willingness to serve form within reason to share with the nominating committee what you have to offer and where your interests are, and again, how you can build that league resume maybe over time to get some of those heavier hitting positions. As a transfer member, and I can speak pretty passionately to this experience, but if you come from a different league, you've seen a different way. You bring a diverse perspective, you bring new skills to the table. Yeah. If you've served in leadership positions elsewhere, that's a league resume too, and it carries value in a totally different way. And dive right in. There is nothing that says you can't raise your hand and assert, again, your skill set and get into that leadership track. I think you have to be courageous. I can definitely say vulnerably, it was really scary to raise my hand and say, hey, I have this background and this experience, but if you don't do that, you have so many things you could be offering and lending and growing. And I found just having a different way of seeing it, it's a voice to the table too. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, just fill out that form, share your background, but on both fronts, whether you're a new member or whether you're a transfer member, I think just being, manage your expectations, out the gate, but start having those conversations. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And again, we have a really amazing organization that is accepting to new skills, cool backgrounds, and all the amazing things that we have to bring to the table.
And I also think with that, Erica, is different perspectives as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So I'm going to switch things up a little bit and throw a little monkey wrench in tonight. I believe that you got to do the hard work, but you got to have fun in the process. So I'm going to throw you all off a little bit.
Okay.
And
Before
the question is,
sorry, I'll piggyback on one thing Dianca said. I'm
Absolutely.
so sorry. I did not want to interrupt, going to Erica, but I think with the willingness to serve form of leadership profile, when you nominate another member, I think you said that it's hard for us, we may not see something in ourselves, but I think as women, we especially have a hard time with that. It's hard for us to be like, ooh, I'm really good at this. I would be great at X, Y, and Z, or all of the leadership positions. Not many people do that. And it's just, again, like hard as women to say like, hey, I'm really good at this. So please, if you see something wonderful in your fellow members, like my fellow member Monique.
I didn't pay her. I did not pay her.
But tell them, encourage them and say hey, you would be great, I think, at this because you can do X, Y, and Z. Also kind of give that person something back, so that they can, some explanation as to why you think that they would be great at something, so that they can kind of, link all that together and oh, okay, these are qualities that I already am doing in the league, and so this would transfer to maybe like a specific position.
Yeah.
That's good, Andrew.
That's good.
That's good, and that's true. I'll be fully honest and provide full disclosure that I did not self-nominate for president. I remember I was part of that first round of individuals that actually participated in an interview process, and so I got a phone call from the nominating chair, and they offered me actually a couple of options. Rania, you were nominated for A, B, and C, and it was like, I need some time to think about all of that. And so honestly, even the position that I'm sitting in, it's only because someone else saw that in me, and that was not something I was seeking out or looking forward to. All right, so let's switch it up a little bit. All right, so talking about identifying things that, are good about ourselves. What are y'all crushing on right now? What is something that's really got you excited? I'll start so you can have a moment to think, but tell us what you're crushing on. So I've got to join in with two things that I'm crushing on right now. First is I was so excited about the original Black Panther that now that Wakanda Forever is coming out and the main person is going to be a female. The first one was so awesome to see women, particularly African American women who had hair like mine, doing amazing feats on big screen, on an action movie, and now to know that they're actually going to be Black Panther, I'm so excited about that. And then secondly, I want to brag on an amazing member, Selena, as you all know, from Embellished Dough, and she's a new member with us this year. She was just featured on the Food Network, the Christmas Cookie Challenge. It was a cool Christmas cookie challenge for couples, and I'm totally crushing on her, not just now, but I always have, because she is my go-to cookie person and my hot chocolate bomb person. So I'm like, I know I got to get my orders in now for the holiday season. So what are y'all crushing on? I'm coming to you first, Ashley.
I got one. The Crown most recent season is about to come out this week. So in my sickness, I've been rewatching all of the other seasons.
To get ready.
So I am, with the Queen's death, meet my sickness, and the next season coming out, I am all caught up on my British royalty.
I love it. Who wants to jump in next?
Well, I'll go. I am crushing on my Benedict Tigers right now.
Yes!
So, look, we could proudly say that Benedict is the only football team in South Carolina right now that's undefeated. Just putting that out.
Yes.
And not only are we undefeated, this is the first time in college history that we've been 10-0. So it's a really, really big deal. Yeah, we're in the SIAC conference championship this Saturday against Tuskegee, but it will be held at our stadium. So just totally crushing on the Tigers, proud to be a Tiger, not a Clemson Tiger, but my boss is a Clemson Tiger, so he is always like, what about those Tigers? But he couldn't say that today, but I was like, what about the Benedict Tigers? So I'm crushing on my BC Tigers right now. I'm really, really proud of them and the things that Dr. Artis under her leadership are just a complete turnaround. She has really just kind of taken the torch from Dr. Swinton and has just truly made a mark here, not only in the state, but just in everybody is crushing oh my gosh, because it's such a success story. So I am crushing on those Benedict Tigers.
Okay, all right. Well, who's next? All right, y'all get me excited.
I'll go next. Mine is not that exciting, but I am crushing on deciding whether I would like pumpkin appetizer plates or turkey appetizer plates for my Thanksgiving table.
First world problems.
I really love to set a table.
I was about to say, but knowing you that is serious.
It's a lot of thoughts going into this, and I asked Andrew, and I don't know why, because he's colorblind. I don't know why I ask him questions, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? Laying in bed last night, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, hey, what do you think? He's like, there's no difference in the plates. I'm like, yes, there is. This is burnt orange. This is orange. This is a turkey. This is a pumpkin. I can't decide. Anyways, is it a way to do both? Maybe I do the turkeys at the heads, and then yes, thank you. And then I do the pumpkins on the side.
So if you do, you send me a picture.
So
if I spend more money, I'll say to Andrew, Rania made me some more money.
You don't even understand. This
I'm in
table's
trouble
gonna be
now. I'm
amazing.
never coming back to Thanksgiving dinner. All right,
gonna be amazing.
what y'all got for us?
I'm a Thanksgiving baby, so that's a real controversial, controversial problem to have. Honestly, I'm kind of crushing on Shane Beamer. Not the way that we think, and I didn't go to USC, so kind of controversial take, but I went to Virginia Tech. Shane Beamer's dad was kind of the legendary coach up at Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer, and Shane spent a little bit of time up there, and it's living in Columbia now, seeing the momentum of USC. I'm kind of oozing with some USC pride, so I'm really feeling it right now. Again, if my Hokies and USC go to bat, you all will absolutely win. But again, I'm just really, really proud to be here and really loving on that. I'll tell you who I've fallen out of love with recently is Elon Musk. I work in social media, and it has been a really rough couple weeks on that side of the house. So that's sort of
$8 surcharge. I mean, what is that with that?
I'm in my feelings right now pretty heavily, but yeah, lost my crush on him this week.
Gotcha. Tianka, you're our grand finale.
So I'm crushing on, my husband and I are trying to decide if we want to do like a non-traditional Thanksgiving. So to do like a brunch for Thanksgiving instead of not that we don't like turkey and ham and all that, but just something different. Yeah. Because we always tend to have dinner like 3 or 4, and so we're like, let's have people over early, and then they can leave, and then to get some board games in there. So we're thinking about doing a Thanksgiving brunch instead of the traditional dinner. And then I'm also crushing on this little guy who's turning 5 on Wednesday. So yeah.
Oh man, go ahead, Miles. All right, let's dig back into things. So now that we've talked about our crushes, and boy, we've got some. So I'm happy I got my purple and gold on.
Go Tigers.
All right, so Abby, I'm coming back to you. So again, the Nominating Process Ad-hoc Committee. How has this group really evaluated our nominating processes and developed the recommendations that have come out of it?
Sure, good question. So we took all of the kind of concerns that I think were brewing amongst our general membership and decided to make a list of goals and objectives, which has been our guide through the past few months. So our goals, and of course we have objectives within these, but our main goals have been looking at our bylaws. So of course now we have recommended this bylaw change. We've looked at the positions that the nominating committee selects and the importance and the reason behind certain positions, and we have also looked at the questions to league leadership. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but back when the leadership profiles were open, I had a form open for the same 6-week span of time in the spring, and it just said if you have any questions to league leadership, please ask us. And so we took all those questions, divided them up amongst us, chatted about them, and then came up with a document. That document was then pushed out to board and EMT, and then each person that filled out the leadership profile form with a question, I responded back to them with the answer to their question, then attach the form to the email. So we've tried to really make the whole process as clear as possible. We have also wanted, that was not grammatically correct. We also wanted to look at how the slate was revealed, and we want to make that process more fun and probably accepting for everyone. So we have gotten some feedback from large leagues around the country, most being in the Southeast, and kind of see how they organize things. So we've kind of made our own structure as to how our slate will be revealed this year based on what other leagues do, and kind of getting away from what we did years ago, just trying to keep up with times. And our world is changing, our league is changing, and I think with the nominating committee and the nominating process, you have to bridge a gap from very old mindset of stuff that's worked for 90 something years, but then that can't continue to be the same. So it's trying to bridge new thought, old thought, and figuring out which pieces and parts mesh together and how we make this the most ideal process for all of those involved. And we've also talked about the league resume and the importance of that and how we will share that with the league. And then we've talked about some marketing stuff. So I think that hits all of our goals and objectives. You'll please, jump in. I've talked a long time. But that we really just went through kind of every nook and cranny of the nominating process from beginning to end. And just
We're
try.
taking the puzzle apart and we're putting it
Yes.
back together.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah, summed up everything in just those few words. Thank you.
And I think the other thing that I heard you say was not only did we look internally and get feedback from our members, but we also took into account best practices that we've seen across the association. And there's been conversations with the association directly.
Oh
as
yes,
well.
absolutely. I have a great gal up in New York at HLI, and she's fab. She's like really helped me work through and talk through a lot of things and given me some good feedback. So, I feel like we have definitely spread ourselves outside of Columbia to figure out what is the best way for us to run things here in Columbia for our members.
Yeah.
And we'll keep evolving. So, Monique, I'm coming to you.
All
right, so I got a hard one.
Okay.
So, there's sometimes this notion that we recycle leaders, and that the nominating slate looks like the same people just in different seats. So, can you talk about that? Is that really the case? And if so, why?
Well, I mean, I don't think that is the case. I think if you look at how a lot of our positions have been created, or most of them are 2-year spots, right? And so, if you're a vice chair and then you become a chair and then you follow this process, a lot of the positions, the elect, and then you're actually in the role the following year. Sometimes it does kind of look like it's this pyramid scheme, if you will, but honestly, that's just kind of the nature of the beast and of how it rolls. I think the other part that we have to remember too is, and even Erica can speak to this, being president-elect and transferring in, I think she's a great example that members aren't necessarily recycled, because although immediately it wasn't, hey, be president next year, she immediately, just what she said, advocated, said, hey, this is what I have to bring to the table. This is what I have to offer. And she, she was looped right in, because she was able to, fill out her form, say where she felt like that she would fit, and nominating, went through the process. And so she was a part of the slate as a result. And so I think we have to remember that process of it, and the fact that some of these positions are 2-year terms. The other thing too is if you look at historically, and this happens in sororities, this happens pretty much everywhere. Once you kind of fall on a presidential track, sometimes some positions are a little unique. I think Rania's is probably the most unique that we've seen. Because you didn't do an elect, did you?
I did.
Well, other than president-elect, but you didn't do EVP, did you?
No, I wasn't at
And
EVP.
so historically, I think Rania definitely is unique based on maybe some of the historical things. But if you look at it in some of the other areas, once you become EVP or EVPE, or you kind of follow in that track, unless you don't want it, you probably are going to end up being president, because you're just kind of in that place. And so where it may look like it's being recycled, or where it may look like you were just kind of placed there because of who you know or whatever, there's a particular part of that where at some point it's just kind of inevitable that could particularly be the track if the level of interest is there.
Gotcha. And I will say that, especially serving in this president role, it's all of the roles that I had leading up to this that helps prepare me to answer and know and be able to respond to all of the things.
Yeah.
So you gotta know.
You gotta know.
You gotta know.
Absolutely.
Well, we're almost at time, so I'm going to come to you, Ashley. So there is a proposed bylaws change on the floor as it relates to nominating. So can you explain a little bit about that? How did the committee come to that? What would it mean if it passes? When would it pass? All of those things, and whoever else needs to chime in with that, I appreciate it.
So bylaws are super fun and not great to talk about, because but they're really the fundamental foundation of our league. And so it requires a general membership vote to change that. Right now, the nominating committee, each year, 6 people are selected to be voted upon by the general membership, and the top 3 votes become new members for the nominating committee. The ad hoc committee has decided that a better process for the selection of those 3 nominating committee members will be for the current nominating committee to slate those 3 positions. With this change, they will also be interviewing the people for the nominating committee. And we're expecting this vote to be in January so that next year's nominating committee will run based on the bylaw change. But we think this is the best plan going forward because we need that interview process for our nominating committee members because it's such an important, vital part of the foundation of our league.
And I think too, also with that, Ashley, is just those who are slated for that position having an understanding of our strategic priorities, and also the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, just to have a better picture of the way the direction the league is trying to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll say too, though, I think the additional people that are also being interviewed for these spots is, basically honey in the pot, if you will, for nominating to help, continue to build the slate. You aren't necessarily having to, go out. Like, there are additional people that are already coming into the room that the nominating committees, having the opportunity to interview. And when no one can say God, or maybe one person, you can't just be like, oh, that was awful, and everybody's gonna be like, yeah, that was awful. It's like, no, it wasn't. Like that, you know what I mean? So I think the accountability and the support is there too, to be able to allow us to create additional members without having to dig per se. Right. You're digging from a pot of people that are truly interested in being a part of the leadership of the league. And so I think it's important when you get a phone call that you say yes. And I think it's important if you get an interview that you come on by and see the nominating committee so that it will help with the process, versus maybe not necessarily being a part of that process and not truly understanding. Because I think if you kind of are looped in that regard, then you can kind of understand and respect the process a whole lot more, to ensure that we are truly capturing the people that we need in the positions that we truly want to work.
Yeah.
And even I think also with the whole interview process, which I think is phenomenal.
Yes.
Even though you get one call and it's like, oh, we want you for membership of VP, and based on the interviews, they see someone else who's a better fit for that position. But however, your skill sets can be used somewhere else where you may have not thought your skill set would be used.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and something just to keep in mind too, to do interviews across all of these people. I have not served on the nominating committee. They are not paying me to say this, but we have to, as we're a volunteer organization, and just a major kudos and shout out to anyone who served in these positions forever and always, and especially in the recent years, to interview dozens of women and to get to know us intimately and take 30 minutes, with each candidate, multiply that, and now they're asking for more. They're saying, hey, we want more of us, members to come out and raise our hands. It's just, we have to commend that work and know that there's a lot of care and concern, because to take that intimate time to read resumes, to, put this puzzle together is not easy. So all these questions, send this feedback. It's so important. We want to continue to evolve, but it's, coming from such a great place, and it's just such a big effort. So, big kudos to everyone who served in these positions.
Yeah. All great points. Thank you, Erica. I think one thing I love about the interviews is that you can get so much just from a conversation with someone in a short amount of time. And if I always think about this with my patients, if they tell me what's hurting, they technically will tell me what is wrong with them. They'll tell me their diagnosis without realizing it. Point being that if I talk to someone and they tell me all their skill sets, they literally without realizing it may be saying to me I'm a good fit for this position, even though I came in for here. They are still thinking they're interviewing for this spot, but when we look at the big picture, we're no, you could be amazing over here. And so I love the interviews. And another thing with the nominating committee, I've encouraged the committee the past couple of years, the 6 people we put on the slate to be voted, for 3 to be voted on, we have to make sure they're all kick-ass. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, because any of them can obviously step up onto the nominating committee, and then one will go to the board as nominating chair. But the thing is, with that vote, then you lose 3 phenomenal people that year. And so then where do they go? And that bothers me, because I'm we have these great people. I want everyone who wants and has skills to be in a leadership role to be there. So another thing, just in the note of transparency, we have a lot of people that interview, and of course we have more people that interview than spots, but we also work closely with placement and people that,
That's a good point.
yes, that like people that, are not technically on the slate. I mean, they are highly recommended. I mean, their names I, talk to placement about, and like highly recommend them going somewhere specific in a specific leadership role. This is like what they want to do, and it's just another way to help get you in that leadership pipeline, even if you are not, on the board or you do.
Ladies, thanks for your time and your attention. And members, thank you for your thoughts, your questions. If you have any more about leadership, you know who to hit up. Thanks, ladies.